Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Oh, just recording the slower piece here while it runs.
Oh, I'm slow cooking like beef with not carne asada, but with adobo and some stuff, and we're gonna make tacos. And it's been going all day long. It's like I've showered and washed my hands a dozen times, but I'm like, I smell garlic and meat, and it's amazing.
Yeah, like you make a pot roast and spend the entire day ready to have pot roast.
Yeah.
People at home can't see that our producer has been replaced by Mary Catherine.
Mary Catherine? I don't understand the reference.
Old SNL characters. It was a Catholic school student.
Oh,
yeah. Hands.
Oh yeah. I was like, does he mean superstar?
Yeah. No, Alex was doing that, smelling his hands because he shook hands with someone.
Matthew, we last week and today we had two new subscribers to the Patreon.
Subscribers!
Do we want to start the episodes out by shouting them out, or at the end? How do you feel like is?
We should start with it, because if we wait till the end, nobody will ever hear a shout out, because who will listen to a whole episode?
I hate that perspective, but I also think that there's a really good chance I'll forget. So I want to shout out last week during the live stream, we had Zach become a patron, and we want to thank you, Zach. You're awesome.
Zach.
Today, about 10 minutes ago, while I was getting ready, Erica, who Alex and I know, became a patron. And so we want to thank Erica and Zach for their patronage. And we can...
Or patronage, depending on where it is.
Yeah. You are what is keeping the lights on in here. So
I thought your wife's job does that.
She's the ultimate patron. She gets some patron levels that nobody else can get.
I know. I give it to her as often as I can.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
Yeah. All right. So tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is something that I had written in the. I've mentioned it before in episodes, for maybe 10 seconds or whatever, but I think that I want to talk about whether the idea of voting for versus voting against something or someone. I think to start us off, you and I had a little bit of conversation since yesterday about what exactly we were going to talk about. And, you had mentioned your perspective on, obviously it's better. Sometimes you have to vote against because that's the best option there is to vote against. And I'm not in disagreement with that, but from a strategy point, I think it is always stronger for us to have something to vote for rather than vote against. And I think in this election, it's kind of cool to see that we kind of did I was never 100% off the Biden train, but I feel like I'm actively voting for Harris and Walz now. So
I don't think there's ever a time I voted where it wasn't actively for, even if it was primarily against. Say before I was politically active, when right now I know almost every Wake County senator and representative. Not just know their names. I know them first name basis because my wife and daughter are so political. But I know them. When I have vote on the local ballot in the primaries, I remember there's one year people were saying, "How am I supposed to ever know the difference of these people?" And I was like, "There are 21 names on my primary ballot. I've met 19 of them.
Mhm.
It's not hard if you want to meet them. It's not hard to go to the picnics, go to the bar meetups. They do meet and greets."
Yeah.
So before that, though, before I was meeting people, even if I was just going, well, I'm going to vote for the Democrat because the Republicans in North Carolina are insane. And even if I might articulate that I'm voting against the insane Republicans, but I know the basic Democratic tenets that they're probably going to be supporting, even if I don't know their specific details on the platform.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a representative or a senator where they're just going to, they might author a bill or two and try to get through. But mostly it's, are they going to vote up or down on
Yeah.
this class of bills? So I'm inherently voting for the person I think is going to vote for increased rights and increased protections and sanity, even if I don't know their platform.
I agree with you. I think that you are informed in a way that, and at a level that your average person isn't. So, we talked about Josh Stein last week, and Josh Stein, I think, maybe is a better example. I know now about Josh Stein. I am very happy to vote for Josh Stein, but I've talked to a lot of people who are anti Mark Robinson, and that is the correct take, to be anti
Yeah.
Mark Robinson. However, they're unaware of Josh Stein. Would they be enthusiastic about him if they knew about him? Probably. The people that I talked to about this, I think that they would genuinely be enthusiastic about him. But part of that is an optic. He doesn't have enough. He did not have enough optics earlier on. I think he's catching up now. And this could also be that I haven't cared about a non-presidential election in this way, so I don't know that it doesn't really start gearing up until September, the way, because the presidential election we've been talking about for
Right.
2 fucking
It's a
years.
2-year cycle.
So
Yeah.
so it could be
Yeah.
this could be a Mike learning curve of, I didn't know that people gave a shit, or only started giving a shit in September on that level. Because I mean, I wish that the political cycle was shorter for the president, but I also am realistic, So like
A lot of it is how engaged are you in the primary? Like, are you
sure,
like, I don't care who wins in the primary because I'm going to vote for my side. But it's like, if you were engaged in the primary, then theoretically you were listening. There was primary debates,
yeah,
even for the governor. They were out there doing primary campaigning, which is when it's easier to meet them because it's on a local level. They're only
yeah,
meeting with one half of the electorate really during the primaries. But so it's easier to research them during the primary. Which, like I say, when I went to NASCAR tailgating, asking people about Mark Robinson, like most of them didn't know the primary had happened, and I was meeting them the day after the Republican North Carolina Party convention where Mark Robinson officially became the candidate. So it's like it was 2 months after the primary, and they were like, "I'm gonna vote in the primary." Like, well, that was in March. It's Memorial Day now. You missed it.
yeah,
You know, but I didn't care because I mean, and I don't. But most people were like, I'm voting for whoever the Republican is, when I was at NASCAR. And I can't even be negative against that because I tell people all the time, just vote blue all the way down the ballot. So like, it would be wrong to say you shouldn't vote red. The place where it's wrong is maybe you should research to make sure your person isn't a maniac because I mean, there's been horrible Democrats in local offices and places. Maybe you should research them a little bit and find out if that's one, and then decide is it worth voting for? Like, if it was Mitt Romney versus Rob Blagojevich, whatever the hell his name was in
yeah,
Chicago,
yeah.
I think Mitt Romney's a better call than him because they're both kind of moderate, and Mitt Romney's not a crook.
Yeah.
Kills dogs, but he's not a crook.
Yeah.
You know, so,
I
so a lot of
actually,
times it's hard.
it's a little off brand, and I think the clip I saw today was 4 or 5 months old, so they were still talking about Joe Biden. But the point stands, and that was, they were talking about. I'm trying to think of who it wasn't. The Cheneys. It might have been the Cheney. I don't forget. There was a major Republican name that we all know that was talking about voting for. Oh no, it was Harris. They were voting. They're going to be voting for Harris, and the reason being is that Harris is not, and has shown us no reason why, that she would subvert democracy. And the argument went on for a few minutes, and then finally, like the commentator, it it may have been the blonde haired guy, the whitish blonde haired guy. I'm sorry that I'm spacing on it, who it was that said it, but the commentator interrupted
Vice
the
President Mike
feed.
Pence.
No, he was like a super tea partier 10 years ago, really anti-Obama, said like called for like a race war at one point, like 10 years ago, and he is now Team Harris from the Republican side because Trump refused to concede, and Trump purposely inhibited, or it tried to at least inhibit our democracy, and he was fighting, arguing about that, and the commentator interrupted in and said, "That's exactly correct. If Harris or Biden or whoever was running had said, I had refused to accept the election results and then called for violence and did all those other things, like, it's at that point, it doesn't matter if I agree with you on every single um policy detail, you're a threat. Like it, like I could, he was saying there's if it was Harris versus, I think they used Mitt Romney as an example, which is why I'm bringing that up. It's like Mitt Romney has never done that. Mitt Romney, I don't want Mitt Romney as president, but Mitt Romney has never called for that. So if Harris started calling for that and was running against Mitt Romney, I would have to go to Mitt Romney, even though I dislike every single take that he has on policy.
Which is pretty much what Dick Cheney said in his
Yeah,
endorsement. He's like, I disagree with her on every policy issue, but this is about whether or not we have a democracy, not about the
yeah,
short-term policies.
yeah, yeah.
They should have a
And I
debate.
think Dick Cheney and
No, Harris and Trump.
um
Are they ever going to have a debate?
yeah,
Why don't they have a debate?
Dick Cheney,
Okay, podcast listeners, I say that because they're debating tonight, the night that we're recording. They're going to be debating in a couple hours.
yeah. And I'm going to shout this out a couple times because right now we have 0 viewers on the live stream, but I will shout it out if we get more viewers. We will be live streaming the debate tonight. Where it'll be available for everybody, not just patrons. That one, it's not going to be an episode of the show. It's just going to be us live streaming. We have our bingo. We have bingo cards set up that were randomized for us. So that you, Matthew, Alex, and I will be all playing bingo. Hopefully, Alex will actually be in not the producer role, but he'll be in the on-air talent role because that will make it more interesting to have
On-air talent.
or to have 3 bingo cards instead of 2.
I mean, those of you who watch exit interviews know that Alex is a witty fellow.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
he's our usual third partner rotating in and out of exit interviews, and he's funny.
yeah, yep. And he has been good on the show. Yeah,
And he
because
fills in
he's
when one of us flakes for a couple of weeks.
so. Yeah, the Josh Stein thing is really where I was starting the theory from, of the concept of, like, I think that I really want everyone to know about Josh Stein in North Carolina. He's like, to some extent, I think that it should be a more clean cut election than the presidential election.
I
And
mean, he's got the last 3 polls that came out today. Josh Stein has a double-digit lead
yeah,
over.
yeah, and Mark Robinson is starting to tank really bad, which
Yeah,
is great.
because people
But
are starting to hear his name on national TV. I mean, the late night
yes,
show hosts are talking about him,
yeah, yeah,
and I found the video. So podcast listeners, if you don't know who Mark Robinson is, Mark Robinson is the super right wing, super racist against black people, black guy who is running for governor.
yeah.
Um, and
He also
super conspiracy theorist.
called for the death of liberals, like literally, not hyperbolic.
Some
That
some people need killing, he
yeah,
said while talking about Democrats and liberals. Yeah. He called LGBTQ people trash, and then called on it. He goes, "I'm not taking it back. They're trash." Yeah, and so it wasn't a slip of the tongue. He doubled
yeah.
down. Um, he had millions of things. But here's the funnest thing: there's a new news story. Have you heard about the porn?
Yes, I have.
So
He would go
there's
watch
this.
the trailers for the porn in the
Yeah, but not just that. So here's what's great. Also, he would buy bootleg videos that weren't available in North Carolina from the guy who worked at the porn store who came forward with the story. That guy would like get like homemade VHSs, like copies, and send it to him. And he said the last time he gave him one, it was $25, and he told me, "Oh yeah," and he never came back to the store, so he still owes him $25. And he goes, "I'm not suing him for my illegal bootleg videos or anything." But the reason the story came to light is that guy has this heavy rock band and he wrote a song. He did a video about Mark Robinson owes me $25. And it tells the whole story about how he came into the porn store. That's got really cheesy, low budget video, but showing guys like going into a porn store and going into the booths and everything like that. And I watched it and it's freaking hysterical.
Nice. Here's the thing.
And that's how the story came out. Like he recorded the song weeks ago, and it bubbled up. Like he didn't go to the press and bang on the doors. I need to tell my story. They reached out to him and they were like, "Is this real?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, 100% real."
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that a little bit last week, not that him specifically, but come to the left. You can just enjoy porn and not have to be a weirdo and like be like porn is evil while spanking it. Like you don't have to do that.
I wouldn't enjoy it if I didn't say that.
Yeah.
The illicitness is what gets me off.
Sure. Okay.
I
Anyway.
worry about that. I wonder about that sometimes. If you're too overly sex positive and non kink shaming too far, is there people who then, well, now you've taken away my kink because part of it was the forbiddenness is part of the kink, and if it's not forbidden, then I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so back to the topic. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, in the last 2-3 weeks. So you'll call me out if I did. But the other thing so the 2008 election, I think will go down as the one time in my life where I was voting for somebody, but I was like fine. Now I'm less enthusiastic about McCain than I was, but at the time I was like, oh, two good options here. Like this will never be beaten, and so far that stands true. Like I think Obama in 2008 was better than Obama in 2012. McCain's better than Romney. He's better than Bush. I don't know enough about Bob Dole. I know you said some semi-nice things about Bob Dole
I mean,
last
he
week.
was terrible in office. He was
Oh yeah,
personable when he was on talk shows after he was out of office. Let's just say he's
yeah,
personable. His
right,
policies were horrible. He is the reason we're in the mess right now with the QAnon because they came from Tea Party and Tea Party came from Newt Gingrich and Bob Dole lying to young Republicans so much and so hard and not realizing they would grow up to believe the lies as adults and
yeah,
become the next generation of politicians. So
yep.
yeah, he was
So
terrible. He just was personable when he wasn't running for office.
that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think we'll get another McCain v. Obama situation where
I
you're like
mean,
the republic's in okay shape right now. Like, and
I we,
neither one is gonna end. Like no, neither one's
it
gonna create.
depends. It depends on how this election goes.
Sure.
Like if this is a razor thin election, I mean, if Trump wins, we don't have more elections, so it's moot. But if it's a razor thin, win like it was for Biden or Harris,
Yeah.
then yeah, I might be right. Things go bad. If like it's not nearly as thin if we know on the night. I mean, if Trump tanks tonight at the debate and things get worse, I mean, it's a bigger margin than it currently is in the polling. Then, and the fact that Trump probably will pass away from natural causes, probably in prison before the next election, the Republican Party may swing back to a more moderate state because nobody else can pick up Trump's banner. Like the people like Mark Robinson, it doesn't work for them. They try, but they don't, for
Yeah.
some, whatever it is that makes Trump get away with it. Because there is nothing that he stands for, right? There's not a
Right.
platform that they all are falling in line with. It's a personality. And so they're all having their own MAGA personalities, and most of them aren't winning with it, most of them. And none of them are winning big enough to be the next Trump, I think.
So
So if it swings the other way, we may end up with a moderate Republican Party rising up in the next, 8 to 12 years. So eventually
yeah.
we have a moderate Republican running again, like
Yeah.
McCain sort of was.
Yeah. So let's talk about Trump for a second. With Trump, you kind of just mentioned it, and I think that Trump is an example. So I think that in 2016, people were voting for Trump. But like the people who voted for Trump, there may have been some voting against Hillary, but there was probably of the people who checked off Trump's name, there was probably at least 50% that were semi excited or enthusiastic or happy to be doing that, and then there was probably, I would say probably less than half, but not necessarily a small number, who were I don't want Hillary as president. and that's probably the best that he's had
But I meant there might have
in
been Republicans who are like, I don't love Trumpism, but I certainly
right,
don't like Hillary, so I'm not crossing over and I'm still going to
right.
vote rather than stay home.
Right, but I think that there was a lot of there was within some of his base there was a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah, definitely
I
enthusiasm.
think that he has. I mean, and we know that his numbers have dwindled. They dwindled from 16 to 20, and then from 20 to now, we're hoping they've dwindled more. It's always a
I
little
mean,
hard to tell.
in 20, he got more votes than he did in 16. Just that Biden
Oh,
got more than him.
okay,
Because Biden set the record for the most votes ever, popular
yeah,
vote, but Trump's was
would
second.
have, yeah, yeah.
Like Trump's was right behind him. So Trump got more votes.
So what I was gonna say
But he was also running for re-election. It's different.
yeah, I think that reelection does help. Uh, I think reelection hurts your enthusiasm vote sometimes. In general, I don't think that there was as much enthusiasm for Obama in 2012 as there was in 2008.
Correct.
I think that that's probably fairly standard. I think Reagan might be the last person who because Reagan didn't he in the second term when he won 49 out of 50 states, or am I wrong on that?
No, that was the first because that was against Mondale. Mondale was running as was vice president under Carter. And
Oh,
so
okay,
when he ran against him.
okay.
Yeah.
So okay, then maybe I
But
it's
usually the thing is anything that goes wrong, you're blaming the current administration. So that makes perfect sense.
yeah, yeah,
That the first time you're voting for your aspirational dream of what this person will be in office, the
yeah,
second time you're voting for what they really did in office.
right. And then when you have someone that if you were a Trump voter in 2016 and you you were potentially voting you were semi likely to be voting for him and semi likely to be voting against Hillary. I think that there was less voting against Obama. I'm sorry, against Biden than there was against Hillary. I would guess that there will be a little bit of an increase in the voting against Harris because she is a woman and a woman of color. I think that Biden was just I'm not trying to shit talk Biden. I think that he ended up being a better president than I expected, but Biden was also the most vanilla option in some ways.
Yeah, for me, Biden was. He's not who I voted for in the primary anyway. But once he was the candidate, I was not upset that he was the candidate because I'm like, well, on the bright side, no one else can walk in on day one and do the job. Because he
Yeah,
was with Obama for 8 years, so he was
yeah,
probably the best equipped person to undo the damage that he undid in the horrible situation that he took over, and he did.
yeah,
Like the Republicans like to attack Bidenomics, but Trump left us in a hell, and
yeah,
things are much much better now. Like they're not perfect for sure, but they started from hell under
yeah,
Trump. They didn't start from a baseline normal economy
yeah, yeah. So, what for you? You've been voting a bit longer than I have.
because I'm old.
Yeah, and that was the implication. What was the election? And we'll count this current election out because it hasn't happened yet. Where going into the voting, without knowing the results yet, you were the most enthusiastic about the candidate you were voting for.
I think it has to be Obama. Because he was just when he did the Democratic National Convention previously, when he did his speech, and he was like, "There's gay people in the red states, and there's what are blue collar people in the blue states or whatever it was." Like he was like listing the stereotypes in each state, and they're back and forth and one America, and I was like, I was so excited, not just because I thought he was motivating and amazing. Stupid me didn't realize how racist America was. I think a lot of us didn't realize how racist America was
Yeah,
still, like on a cross level until the election. Because I was like, I remember saying to Malavi, he'll be such a good candidate because he said nothing negative about Republicans ever. All of his speeches were about how we're all Americans, we can all come together. Like there's no reason to hate him. There's no
yeah,
reason to be against him at all. He's so good. And I underestimated how much people are like, well, he's black. I didn't realize that was a reason that so many people. I figured the racists are going to be that. Yeah, but I didn't realize how many people who don't actively act racist in their normal life suddenly pulled out racism. And I don't know what it is I don't like about them. Like, yeah,
yeah,
but we were super enthusiastic. That was the first presidential election that I ever volunteered for, that I went down, made phone calls and went out of way to get signs for. Like that was the election that started us being active in elections.
Nice.
And he won North Carolina in the first election too.
Was that the last time a Democrat won here, or do
Yeah,
you and
he won his first time, not his second time, because the enthusiasm kind of waned. People who had never voted came out to vote for him the first time,
yeah?
and the second time was like regular voters, like still enough to win, obviously re-election, but not the crazy numbers that came out the first time.
I wonder, and tell me if you think I'm wrong. Do you think that some of that mentality of we are already in office, we our guy is already in office, we can be a little less we don't we can be a little less engaged. Do you think that has slowed down a little bit? Because I feel like Trump in 2016 is the result of like largely of people being like, no, this is Hillary's, like, and that's not to blame
Well,
Hillary, that's to blame us as a people being like, well,
I
yeah,
mean,
this,
I think Hillary, the problem with her campaigning was certainly that. Like, she took states for granted, like the Rust Belt states, and didn't visit them. No doubt that
yeah,
was one of the things that cost her the election. But I think another thing, though, that how good Obama was hurt us with the young vote. Because I know that my son was in college, and for Trump's, for his election, and he was like, none of my friends see why they have to vote because they don't remember a
yeah,
time when it was bad. They remember 8 years of Obama, and they don't
yeah.
think it's important who the president is because they don't know what it was like before Obama.
He's like the measles vaccine.
Exactly.
The
Having him
victim of
having
their
him
own
for two,
success.
having him successful meant the younger voters didn't know. And I think one of the things that's, I mean, and the other negative against Hillary, not against her personally, but against her campaign and what
Yeah,
hurt her, was Republicans have been bad mouthing her since Clinton was president. Like
yeah.
she was so engaged and so active. I mean, she did
Hmm.
things, so they were attacking her for daring to be a woman who was doing things. So there are Democrats who were holding their nose and I don't like her, but I'm voting for her. And the only reason they didn't like her was because they had listened to 8 or 12 years of Republicans bad mouthing her, not because
Yeah.
of something she deserved.
Eight to
So
12 is
that was tough.
8 to 12 is kind. It was more like 20 something years of Republicans talking shit about
Yeah.
Hillary. So, you know,
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot the Obama years were another. So it's
I mean,
16.
basically from the
Yeah.
moment the Clintons entered the national stage, Hillary was almost as big of a target as Bill, and then
Yeah.
eventually she outshined
I
him
mean,
as target.
I don't think she was during the first campaign because we didn't know who she was. She was just the wife.
Yeah,
But when she got in office and she was the co-president,
yeah,
that's when they went nuts because she was as smart as Bill and as educated. And there was no, she wasn't a typical first lady that had we'd seen before. And she's the new brand of, you know, Democrat first ladies. Like his name was Michelle Obama, another attorney who could
yeah.
actually do things like someone. But I think the one
I'm
gift
excited for Dougie to kind of return us to that
to just
to that
bake
tradition.
cookies, just go home and bake cookies.
To just be like, take on a
Yeah.
cause, Dougie. Like,
Yeah.
I
But
I don't mean that negatively. I mean that
no, no.
like I don't care. I think that
I
I
mean,
I
I Melania went the full other way. She didn't even have a cause. Her cause was bully more.
yeah. Her cause was do I what was the coat that what did the jacket say? Do I
I
look like
don't
I
care.
care? Oh
I don't care.
yeah
But I think the gift that Donald Trump has given us is never stepping out of the limelight. I mean, the fact that it's weird as hell that someone who lost for president, when he was the candidate, is running again. Like that never happens, right? No one runs again.
right
He lost. But the fact that he never got out of the limelight, partially because he was being arrested left and right, but partially just because he can't get out of the limelight,
yeah
means that nobody forgot what he's like. Like there's a lot more. Like he didn't get to go away in people's memories and then come back. It's like no, he's still here.
yeah
And the legacy of hit. I mean, I wish that we got hit more for what he did in causing the pandemic to be as bad in America as it was. The fact that he got rid of the pandemic response team and the pandemic response plan, like he literally made it worse than it would have been. I mean, it would. The pandemic was happening. It's the pandemic,
yeah
but we would have weathered it a lot better, and there wouldn't have been anti-mask and anti-vax if he wasn't president leading the charge to be anti-vax and anti-vax mask,
right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
or if he had
Um.
just chosen to just not give into it. If he had said, hey, I know some of you don't like it, but it's a good thing, and just been more proactively on. So like, because like he said, you have to wear a mask if you want to. Like he'd always throw in if you want to, and then he would not wear it in places, and we would have done much better as people. And an old classmate of mine, a friend of mine from childhood, not a good friend, died of the COVIDs in the last 2 weeks. Who was someone who I'm pretty sure, knowing his politics and stuff, that he wasn't vaxxed, and he was told by his doctor, "You need to get to the ER," and he was like, "Nah," went home and died at home instead of going to the ER.
Oh, I'm
Not the
sorry.
smartest person in the world. Yeah,
Yeah,
again,
you can
not
still be
somebody I really.
sorry for somebody who
I'm
did it.
sorry that he was stupid and let himself into stupid ways. But
Yeah,
yeah. But it's like, but it's also because like his politics told him that he should think it's just the flu and not get a vaccination. You know, like it's crazy to die because your politics told you should.
yeah, yep. Um, two things. One is, did you see the? I'm sure you probably didn't because you've had a busy day. You said, but the trailer for The Apprentice dropped today. Do you know what The Apprentice is?
I am familiar. I did not see the trailer. No, I didn't see it. So I
It
don't have it in the
dropped.
tubes.
It
But I
dropped,
know
and
that like people are talking about it the last couple of days.
the trailer dropped, and the trailer, and I mean this as a compliment, is a hit job. It is a, it is literally, it makes Trump seem infantilized. It makes him seem incompetent. It is, it's supposed to be about him.
So it's accurate, is what you mean.
No, but not confident in the like he's it's the Trump origin story, and it's him going to Roy. Is it Roy Cohn or Cohen? It's Cohn, but I don't know how it's pronounced.
I do not know.
And he was like a Nixon lawyer, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It could be Cohen. It could be Cohen. It could be
Okay,
Khan. I don't know
but
which of the variations.
oh yeah, but the trailer is him going to Roy Cohn or whatever's apartment in New York and being like, "This is Donald Trump," and he goes, "Who?" And then it's Roy Cohn kind of being like, "No, you got to do this," and like coaching him into what he is or what he became. I would say what he was from when he became famous till at some point, maybe 2006 or 7, before, I know that a lot of people want to dismiss, but I think there's been a huge change in him. I think that the Apprentice TV show, and Donald Trump in the '90s was not the same. And I know that he was a racist, and there was issues there with renting to black people and the Central Park Five and those other things. But he was capable in a lot of that stuff. He pulled it. He at least appeared like he pulled it off. And at some point with the birther shit, he went the way that so many people have gone in the last 15 years, which is the conspiracy theory, foaming at the mouth angle. But
And I would give him full credit that I don't think he's lying in any conspiracy theories. I think he believes every one of them 100%. Because almost everything he accused Obama of, he went on to do. All he does is play golf every day. He never does any work, and then he
oh yeah,
played golf all the time. Like he did, he like he said, oh, he's never going to leave office, and he tried not to leave office. So really, everything he accused him of is what he assumed. This is what goes on in Washington because it's what I would do.
yeah,
So like he fully believed that his accusations because to
yeah.
him they seemed like the right thing to do. So I was reading the Washington Post this morning, as I want to do over my breakfast. What was my breakfast? Bacon and cheese omelet. Thank you very
Nice.
much. Not real bacon though. I mean, it was bacon, but it wasn't. Real, it was those bacon crumbles from Costco. So you just throw them in the pan with a little bit of oil or butter and just crisp them up a little bit and break the eggs.
Still not
Delicious.
kosher.
No, well, because you can't have meat and cheese, but you can't have bacon, so double negative kosher.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I know how to work the system.
I'd love to see
Um,
you try that with a rabbi.
Looking pretty fly for a rabbi. Oh, I used to debate the rabbi when I was in a Jewish Hillel Jewish organization on campus. There was a crazy rabbi, and I love debating him.
Nice.
Another episode when we talk about Shabbos, the Shabbos episode, I'll tell you about that debate. Um, but there was an article about, I think it was specifically black voters who sat out the 2020 election, but are enthusiastic about Harris.
Oh yeah.
Like they were not enthusiastic about two old white guys, but now Harris is something new, so they're excited, so they're voting. And one quote, and I wrote it down. When it said, "I'd rather vote for something I strongly believe in rather than voting in spite of someone." And like, that's totally our topic. So how wonderful. And I was like, my first thought was, I agree with that sentiment 100%, except my next sentiment is, but I will vote just to spite
Oh
them.
yeah, yeah,
Like I'd
yeah.
rather, I won't sit out. You know,
For me, it's
I
not.
always think of it like food. If people are arguing over what to eat for dinner, and you're like, "Well, I really hate that one thing, but I don't love that other thing," I'm gonna just sit out and not make a decision, or throw out a random third
Yeah,
party food that nobody else wants anyway, and then be upset that the thing I hate is what they picked, not the thing
yeah,
I
yeah.
just didn't want. It's
I
like,
I'm allergic to some fish, so I don't eat any fish.
and I don't
If
like most fish.
if you're voting for fish for dinner and Alex is voting for a literal turd for dinner, I'm
But
gonna
not even a
vote.
little turd. Let's just say we have a tie vote for fish
Yeah,
versus steak, and there's three people who haven't voted yet, and
yeah,
one of them let's vote for pizza. Like after they know that pizza is already lost, that pizza's not going to
yeah,
win, or let's not have a tie. Let's say fish is ahead by one, and then because the three of them who could have tipped the steak said pizza, we end up with fish because they don't care that you die and I don't like fish, and I don't really care that you die from fish either, but I don't like fish.
Oh, but my point was going to be like if it was fish versus turd, I would vote for the fish because fish is food, even though it's not something I want to eat. And maybe it's a restaurant where there's an option, but like it's not. Like your option is the worst food option I can think of, but the other option isn't even fucking food, and
Yeah,
that's where
but to me, it doesn't have to be the worst. It's just like the thing I
yeah,
don't want, the thing I'd rather not have.
yeah,
And then by being one of those three people who took yourself out of the equation, one of them didn't participate in choosing, and two of them said a third party item that wasn't going to win. You
yeah,
get the thing they all, like all three of them agree they hate fish too. Like they all
yeah,
hate fish. They're all getting fish, and like, it's not fair. I wanted pizza.
yeah,
Pizza was never in the cards. Like we're in North Carolina, there wasn't a good
yeah,
pizza near you. Okay, I'm
yeah.
lying, everyone. There is really good pizza in North Carolina. There's good New York style pizza. There's DeFara's in Cary, which is mwah. There's Oakwood Pizza Box, which is mwah. And there's even a handful of just regular places, Mamma Mia, Mezzaluna, and other just New York style places that are just good every day. What my brother calls football pizza. Like football pizza, you just get it. I've got a grandma's pie sitting in the kitchen right now, but I got home at 6:30, so I had to be to report. So I can't even eat the grandma's pie. It's half pepperoni, it's half meatball, because me and Joseph like the meatball, me and Lee like the pepperoni. This way I can eat both. But I can't eat it because I'm on the call with you guys. As soon as I get out, I'll eat some cold grandma's pizza from Mezzaluna. Mezzaluna, they're from the Bronx. It's really good. But what I'm saying is, I don't want Trump. I want Mezzaluna. And if the choice was Biden or Trump, I take Biden over the Mezzaluna.
I get that. I get that. That was intense.
Did
Uh,
CK just possess me? Oh man, that was a character I used to do in improv
I
that
will
would
say,
just go on rants.
I like your pizza rant was good, but I haven't I don't know that I think I've tried I don't know if I've tried Mezzaluna. I think that DeFara's is good. I don't think that there's that much what I would consider. Your brother says football pizza. I say movie at home on a Friday night pizza.
Everyday slice.
But I think when like everyday slice kind of pizza is a much more specific to what you grew up with kind of pizza. Whereas like DeFara's, you could probably bring someone off the boat from Italy and they wouldn't hate DeFara's. Like they would be like, this is pretty good for
Yeah,
what I
it's
figured
its
I was
own
going to get in
style of
America.
kind of pizza. It's
That like
amazing. But yeah,
that high end, it's a little
right, you're
expensive.
looking for a Boston pizza. Is that what you're looking for, or you like a
And
Connecticut pizza,
no,
like New
I mean I
Haven?
like Connecticut's fine, but like no, Massachusetts has so what I consider like my comfort food pizza is it's technically like a Greek style pizza that you can get in the suburbs of Massachusetts, and it has I can't really describe it. It's not as thin and floppy as like New York style. It's definitely not deep dish. It is uh the 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 dough that's under the sauce and cheese, not the crust itself, but the dough that's under
Yeah,
the sauce and cheese is say not quite my thumb, but maybe like maybe my thumb thickness with the sauce and cheese and everything is that thickness, and it's
right.
semi stable to hold upright.
Yeah. So there used to be a pizza place. I think maybe at two locations, maybe in Raleigh, called Wildflower Pizza, and they billed themselves as Boston Pizza. And I think that's pretty much what they had, and it was great. It wasn't New York. It wasn't the pizza that soothed my soul like my
Yeah,
football pizza, but it was a very delicious pizza that I was always happy to go get when people wanted to get it.
and they no longer exist, or they
I
do.
don't think they do. It's been at least a decade since I've heard anyone say their name.
Wildflower Boston Pizza, Raleigh. But it looks like they have 3 reviews on Yelp. They still have a website. Let's see if their website loads. Oh, it's a food truck now.
Ah,
It's not
maybe they came back to life.
It's not exactly what I would like. But it looks good. I would definitely try this.
It was. It was. I mean, like it's not my regular go. Like I think like the Chicago deep dish and Chicago Tavern and New Haven's Connecticut style
Yeah.
are all not the ones that soothe my soul, but they're all delicious styles of pizza. I am not a pizza snob when it comes to trying different styles of pizza.
No. I like trying different pizzas. Sometimes I'm just like, like there's sometimes it's just like not the same satisfying thing to like.
But the pizza I don't want is an orange pizza with fake topping. Trump. I don't want Trump. That's what I'm
Oh.
saying. I'm not voting for Trump.
Yeah, you brought it back. Good. So okay.
Fake topping because he's got the flyaway fake hair that when he's getting on Air Force One and it blew away and he's completely bald except for the little stringy hair that he combs over like a 1974 comb over.
Yeah. Let's talk about RFK for a minute.
Are we talking about whales, bears, or
No, so I saw a thing today on Instagram that said, they're going to talk about all the people, like Trump is almost certainly going to bring up this woman that was eating a cat or something that I think that they're saying she's Haitian, but there's no, or Venezuelan. I'm maybe confusing a couple of stories here, so I apologize. But there was some stories that people are eating cats, and they're like, there's an instance where one woman ate a cat, and she seems to have some kind of mental health issue. There was something going on there, but Trump. It's one of these things Trump keeps bringing up, along with the Venezuelan gangs and a couple other things that are like verifiably and untrue. And someone wrote on Instagram this morning, "Oh, he's certainly going to bring up the eating a cat thing that's going on right now while taking the endorsement of the person most likely to eat a cat." Yeah. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that
I think
RFK's
it's I just from a quick Google, I think it's Haitians that they're accusing of eating cats.
right, and it's because one person who they're not.
A person did a crazy thing.
Sounded like she was black and that they were just assuming Haitian, like she could have been
Oh,
an African
yeah.
American. It sounds like there was not even that much evidence that she was a Haitian. It was
But that you wanted
they're
to be an
blaming a
immigrant,
cult.
so there's a good immigrant.
Yeah, exactly. And and they can't really piss off the black base right now by being like black people do that. They have to be this specific group of immigrants.
I believe you mean black people.
That's on the bingo card.
Black.
If he says black. All right, should we
Yeah,
start wrapping up? So, if you want to support us, and you're listening to or watching this, you're watching and listening to this after it has been recorded and not live, which statistically it seems like that would be the case. All 6 of you
unless you're Zach.
who I think is dropped. If that's the case, you can watch. You obviously please give us a like and a subscribe. Go check out YouTube where we're starting to hopefully get some more traction. And but if you want to if you wanted to check out our live streams, which we do typically every Tuesday at 6:30, those are available for $1 a month, and we're doing at least 4 of them on patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. There's some other options there too. If you don't want to watch it Tuesday at 6:30, you can watch
Eastern.
on Eastern. You can watch on less edited versions than what goes out to the public for $3 or $10 a month. Those have different versions. Yeah, and we all your support is great. I do want to give one last shout out to Zach and Erica, who are our newest patrons this week. Thank you very much. That's another reason you could be a patron. You could in addition
Your
to
name said.
making sure that well, and you'll get if you comment and stuff in the Patreon feed, you're more likely to get noticed and so and shouted out on the show. So anyway, yeah, Matthew, you got anything?
Nothing special or out of the ordinary.
Okay.
The usual wrap.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with us tonight to talk about the big stuff. We know you had other choices, but we're glad you elected to be with us.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.